Dr. Joseph Shelson, President of the Italian American Museum, and tonight we have a very interesting presentation about the wedding gown of Anna PIECORO from 1908, which will be on permanent exhibition at the Italian American Museum.
Anna PIECORO were married in Brooklyn, New York, and her wedding gown sat in a hope chest for many years after the wedding. My cousins and I used to try it on when we were kids, thinking that they were going to wear it when we got married. But my grandmother weighed about 65 pounds, I think, when she got married, so that plan didn't work out. But anyway, it's been sitting for years, and I decided to try to get it restored and do something with it. So I brought it to Sarah's program. I work at FIT. I brought it to Denise, who is Sarah's, the chairperson of the textile program now, and asked if anybody might be interested. And Sarah, thank God, said she would take this on as her term project. And she did a wonderful job. It's just, when you see before and after, you just cannot believe what she's done with this gown. It's just amazing. So that's how we all got here today, and we're very proud. And and then how it got here was that I decided to not put it back in the hope chest again after all this beautiful work. So I did not know the museum existed. I went online, and thank God for the internet today, and discovered there was this wonderful place, and talked to Joe, and he happily accepted the dress as a donation. So that's our story, and thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle. When she came to me and she told us that she had this gown and she wanted to donate it, I said, "Wow, this is just what we need." Because we want to tell the story, and we want to tell it through real people on the Italian experience. And this of course was a real person, and a very, very, very important person, obviously by how reverently you all hold her in with such esteem. So this is an important piece of what we do. The museum has a lot of love in it, and it's a lot of caring, and we really do want to make sure that we put everything that is possible that shows not only the wonderful nature of the Italian people, but the way in which they lived, and that's important to us. And this helps to do that. So we thank you very much for the donation, and Sarah has been an absolute dream. She has been so patient. She is so understated and so diligent at what she does. Really, if everybody who graduates FIT is like you, I want to hire you all myself. But without further ado, I'm gonna ask Sarah to take over the program and to show you what fine work that she's done and explain how it's done.
I'm just going to give you a kind of quick overview, introduction to the program and why I was doing this project, and then the details of how the dress came from what it was to what it is now. FIT's master's program in fashion studies and history. It's a very hands-on, practical skills-oriented program. It's 2 years. Your last year, you have the option to focus on conservation or curatorial studies, and I chose to do a bit of both. So I was the co-curator of the exhibition that the students put on at the museum at FIT, and I also did the advanced conservation class, which your long-term project is a garment that you select at the beginning of the term, and you spend the entire course working on it and trying to get it to the goal that you set out. So this is what the dress looked like when it came to me. It was really, really wrinkled. The sash on the shoulders had completely fallen off. One of them was hanging on by a thread. The waist sash was completely hanging off. There's lots of holes, there's lots of stains. It was kind of unrecognizable as to what it was really supposed to look like. And so the first thing is to document the image this way with the photographs, and then you can sort of plan your attack.
Oh, wow.
So it's all the same kind of elements, definitely the top of the line in terms of fashionable details. And one of the things that I learned as a student is that women, especially in the past, would make their wedding dress the most fashionable thing that they would own. So everyday clothes might not be the height of fashion, but when you get married, your dress is going to be top of the line. And I think that probably still holds true today. Now the nitty-gritty of the general condition issues. So the thread loss was really the main concern for me in trying to get this dress to be back to its original state. So everything is kind of coming undone. The first step was to repair the pleating in the shoulder sas, which had come undone. And that took, I think, the longest time possible for me since I don't do very well with pleating. And every pleat had to be pinned into place and then restitched to the bodice of the dress. And then once it was restitched to it, then I had to kind of essentially iron them into place. And to do this, I used a method with a little slightly moistened cloth, and then I pressed the pleats with a glass plate underneath, and then put another glass plate on top and weighed it down and left it for a couple days so that it stayed in place. Because I couldn't iron the dress because it's too fragile. So then I just did some work on the neckline. The worst was the little beaded elements that are on the waist. One of them had completely come unraveled. And so that's the funnest picture, which it's hard to see, unfortunately, on a smaller screen. But I took pins again and stuck it had to be wound again, loops around this little bead. And every loop was pinned into place so that I could then stitch a loop into every loop again with the same cotton thread that I used for the seams. And it took hours and hours to do this simple thing. But in the end, I think it came out fairly well. You didn't really notice that it was undone. And then just a few more little areas of thread loss that I worked on. What I found really interesting is that throughout the dress, in places like the bodice and underneath the ribbon detail on the front, there were straight pins stuck in it that had been there. And so then, this is getting towards the end of it, I finally steamed it, which was like a miracle. All those wrinkles just dropped out immediately, which was one of the more refreshing things, because all my other classmates had dresses and things that they couldn't steam because the water would damage the fabric. So I was skipping along, and so here is the dress after, the finished product. And then this is the before and the after for the front and the back. So that's the story of that dress.
And I cried when I saw the picture of that gown. She did a miracle. She did a miracle for me. She really did. And I love her for what she did.
Can I also add, we've never mentioned this very important fact. Sarah had no photograph of this gown.
No,
There were
that's
no
right.
wedding pictures.
Nothing,
So she did this without being
Yes.
able to even look and
That's
say, this
right.
is what it should
Where it
look like.
was.
Yeah, and that was very
And
important.
it was a
photographer
blizzard.
could not make it to the wedding.
It was a
that day.
blizzard that day, and they couldn't take a picture. And they were on the
Yes.
horse and wagon. Well, they got married in 1908.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. They had it to their little, horse and carriage. And they went to a little restaurant. They were relatives of ours. And I said, what kind of wedding did you have, Mom? She said, wine, liquor, cookies that our friends made them. She said it was no big deal like you do today. But her gowns did everything for me, in my heart. She did. She's a miracle child. She's my miracle child.
Did you get good grades?
Yes.
Good.
Thank
You did a beautiful job.
Do you know where your mother got the dress and where it was made?
She knows where it was.
Well, Bloomingdale's
Bloomingdale's,
actually,
At
well,
Beal,
they
yeah.
said Bloomingdale's or Beelman's, we weren't
Yeah.
sure. And I didn't know that Bloomingdale's even existed that long ago, but I looked online and they have been around since the late 1800s.
Right.
Yeah, I never
It's
knew that.
important, I feel it's important that, objects such as this,
Yes.
these are preserved,
Right.
and conserved. as Sarah would say, instead of redoing them, and that we can see our history. And this is our history. So your family now is in the Italian American Museum. and for others to see what it was like to be a young girl in 1908 and to be married in New York City, and to the gown that she wore, which I think is kind of special. Very special. So I thank you very much for that as well. Thank you for that as well. So for both of you, another round of applause.